Hello, hello. Testing, testing. One, two, three. Are we live? Are we live? Are we alive? I don't know. Well, I mean, if you're watching this, you're probably alive. So, welcome to Earth. If you're not an Earthling, then you probably aren't aware of America and her politics and how we're just gonna go through a whole new ass era of it. And today's chapter is written by William. Forgot his name. Hold up. I was so ready. William Perry Pendley. William Perry Pendley is a guy that looks like this. Obviously, someone that you would love to have at a cookout or a barbecue. Fool has the most mustache possible for an elected official. The most mustache possible. Like I can't even. I'd be called a thug with that kind of fucking facial hair. But this guy can get away with it because we're doing this a bit different. We're live, and we're not gonna have any edits or anything. I mean, maybe later, like if anybody has the balls to. But we're just gonna straight up read this chapter. Um, go through his history first. He was a political commentator and served for the Bureau of Land Management in 2019 and 2021. Uh, he was appointed by the Interior Secretary. Remember that this whole book was like heavy on like, oh, well, the president should be appointing everyone. Okay, like this guy was appointed by someone else in the interior. So make that of what you will. Uh, so a U.S. district judge ruled in 2020 that Headley served unlawfully for 424 days and blocked him from continuing. Although Pedley refused to acknowledge the ruling, still Pedley moved into another role that was not a directorship. Interesting. He has a uh, Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Arts degrees in political science. I told you political science is considered an art. And he's one of the few chapter members that is, he's actually a veteran. He is from the United States Marine Corps. And this kind of lines up with where he's from. He's from like Colorado, a lot of those areas. So, yeah, a lot of those areas are very heavy in Marine family presence. Um, All right. I think with that, that's enough of an introduction. We'll dig into what he thinks is a good or bad policy in a moment. Ah, closing my windows. La 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 la. Oh, that's night stop. Oops. Oh, there I am. All right, I'm gonna change my position. I get myself comfortable. Eh. Oh, you know what? Give me the hat. Why not? All right, now that I am as comfortable as humanly possible while reading Project 2025, let's go. Um, the U.S. Department of Interior. Oh, this is funny. He was part of the another department, but he's writing about the Department of Interior. The Department of Interior being the people that appointed him to the other position in the first place, the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, which keeps getting confused for Black Lives Matter, which I think is really hilarious that the Bureau of Land Management keeps getting confused for Black Lives Matter because it leads to some hilarious fucking posts. But today he is writing about the Department of Interior, and if you remember from other videos, Uh, Literally every other chapter throws one of their departments at the Department of Interior. So by this point, all the other departments are squeezed out of other things, and the Department of Interior seems to like overgrown and developed this kind of like homunculus state. So let's see if he even addresses any of that. A home department had been considered in 1789, urged by presidents over the decades to until the DOI's creation in 1849. Damn, he getting me a history lesson. Damn, bro. Damn, bro. DOI's Department of Interior's 2024 budget was 18.9 billion, increased by 2 billion or 12% as of 2023. Wait, if the budget request was that, why if the budget was one way in 2024, how does that reflect the previous year? Okay, that's kind of backwards, but hey, I'll let him slide for now. This is barely the first two paragraphs. Um oh god. The Bureau of Pensions and the Patent Office, among others, earned its various nicknames, including the Great Miscellany and Hydra-Headed Monster and Mother of Departments. Oh my god. The mission was to become more focused on natural resources and the rise of conservation movements during the 20th century. However, it has kept historic since the days of the founding fathers, role to overseer of vast working landscapes, improving grazing, logging, mining, coal, gas, and with the Bureau of Reclamation in 1902, the nation's dam builder. Today, the Department of Interior has 70,000 employees and approximately 2,400 locations with offices across the United States, Puerto Rico, and U.S. territories and freely associated states. I bet that's going to change, isn't it? You going to drain the swamp? It ended with the administration of Jimmy Carter, who beholden to environmental groups that supported his election, adopted Department of Interior policies that consistent with their demands. Oh my God! Heaven forbid, environmentalists, environmentalists. Oh, you gonna scare me with the boogeyman like that? Environmentalists. President Ronald Reagan campaigned against this war on the West, declared himself a sage Bush rebel, and on taking office, quelled rebellion of reversing Carter administration's policies, uh, or dedic- hmm. Under George W. Bush, he distanced himself from Reagan's Western policies, committed to a kinder and gentler America. As someone who lived through the George W. Bush administration, that statement is very fucking funny to me. Uh, environmental president, which is thanks for the history lesson. Although Texas Governor George W. Bush and former Wyoming Representative Dick Cheney championed in 2000 against Clinton's worst outages, including the Utah Monument, which was no significant racketeering back in the DOI policies and federal statutes. President Barack Obama's Department of Interior resumed the anti-economic federal lands policies activated by Carter and amplified by Clinton. However, Obama's DOI's apathy to oil and gas activity on federal lands was mandated by Congress and could not have come at the worst time. Explain why that wouldn't have come at the worst time. I mean, Unlike your boy George W., I mean, Obama actually got snipes up on bin Laden. So, like, you're a Marine. Don't you have opinions about that? No? Okay. President Dump, on other hand, immediately ordered his Department of Interior to comply with federal law, conduct congressionally and mandated lease sales, seek energy dominance or independence. Oh, wait a second. Something just fucking clicked. Okay. You know how I said in other chapters that conservatives want Native Americans to develop their land for their oil and their resources, and how natives uh, keep swinging right because of those reasons. Because, yeah, there are tribal laws banning them from developing their land. Um, with all these other departments and other chapters throwing all of Native American services and Indian services into the Department of Interior, whose intentions are clearly to do away with environmental and environmentalist policy. Yeah, I already see where this is going. I already see where this is going 200%. They want to develop the fuck out of America because, according to this guy, they've wasted time. They've wasted time trying to save the planet. Where have you heard that before? Probably Thanksgiving dinner. Joe Biden's Department of Interior abandoned all pretense of complying with federal law regarding federally owned oil and gas resources. Not since the administration of Harry S. Truman, prior creation of the OCS oil gas program, have fewer federal leases been issued. At the DOI since the Reagan administration. Oh my God. Y'all won't stick your ass, like, get your nose out Reagan's ass and just admit it. You cloned him. You cloned him, and now he's Trump. It's literally the same shit, but just different day. I swear to God. Unfortunately, Biden's DOI is at war with the department's mission. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Budget structure. Okay, now we get into the interesting stuff. Bureau of Indian Affairs. What I tell you, this is the first fucking thing mentioned in budget. They were planning for this. Fulfills Indian trust responsibilities on behalf of 566 Indian tribes, supports natural resource education, law enforcement, and social service programs delivered to tribes, operates 182 elementary and secondary schools and dormitories, and 29 tribally controlled community colleges, universities, and post secondary schools. Oh boy. Bureau of Land Management manages and conserves resources to 245 million acres of public land. Oh, 245 million acres of public land. Man, I want the land back, bitch. Y'all can't tell me that you aren't responsible for the homeless problem when there's literally that many acres of land available. What the fuck does the government need all that land for? I don't know. Probably offices. Probably nuclear silos or some stupid shit. Whatever. And 700 million acres of subsurface federal mineral estate. Ooh, federal mineral estate. Oof. Including energy and mineral development, forest management, timber and biomass production, and wild horse and burrow management. Hmm. Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. Again, he's kind of he's he's copying from fucking uh Ben Carson. My God, because you know how Ben Carson's chapter was kind of boring. He was just kind of like stating what these services were and what they do. That's kind of like what he's going through. He's going through the play-by-play of the Bureau of Reclamation, the Bureau of Environmental Safety Enforcement, for spill response and National Park Service, Office of Mining and Reclamation Enforcement, to regulate coal. He's naming off the departments he wants to keep. And yeah, I mean, restoring American energy dominance. Oh boy. So how are we gonna frack this country to dominance? Frack this country to dominance. Oh, offshore mineral estate, 22% of the nation's oil and 12% of U.S. national gas come from federal lands and waters. I mean, yeah, that's why you guys invaded Iraq for their oil. I mean, don't act like you didn't do that because y'all did. Um, Declining. Additionally, 42% of coal production takes place in federal. Okay, the thing about coal production is that even in places where coal production happens, there is still massive resistance and grassroots protest to it because coal mining damages the air and is bad to breathe in. It's bad for the environment and it's unhealthy for the workers. So even in states like Washington, where they would have a supply of coal and means to do such, there is pushback from local states about this. So making it more of a national issue is a smart way of taking away states' power rather than giving it back to them. So that's very interesting. A very interesting to note because this whole fucking document is like states rights this up the ass up until it comes to the money. You know what I mean? To keep in mind. Biden is aligning management of public lands and waters to support robust climate action. Oh Lord, he's against climate change. Good. Boo hoo. Climate change is going to exist with or without your policies. Sorry, bitch. I hate to say it. It's science, bitch. Administration priorities. Rollbacks in all bold letters. Rollbacks. What kind of rollbacks are we talking about? A new administration should immediately roll back Biden's orders to reinstate the Trump era energy dominance agenda, rescind, blah, blah, blah. This is textbook kind of stuff. Meanwhile, similar agency compliance to order with. Meanwhile, the new administration should reinstate the following Trump Department of Interior section reactors. These are the rules they want to reinstate from the Trump Department of Interior. There, I just summarized it with a better word flow. Concerning federal coal memorandum, American energy independence, American first offshore energy, blah blah blah. There's oh my god. Hold on. How many bullet points is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. They want to bring back 12 SO codes for just cuz. Like I said, this guy has a laundry list. This is coming off like a laundry list and a to-do list rather than an actual step-by-step plan. Reinstate quarterly offshore lease sales of producing states according to Bureau of Land Management, and slight adjustment to including expanding public notice and comment. The new administration should work with Congress on legislation such as the Lease Now Act, the Lease Now Act, and the Offshore Act to increase state participation in federal accountability for energy production and federal estate. You know, for someone who's saying like we're running out of resources, we're running out of oil, we're running out of this, we're running out of that. You are so fucking quick to turn around and be like, but we could lease it to you right now. We could lease it to you now with the Lease Now Act and the Offshore Act. Sales will be great. It'll be dandy. So there's already some fucking flip flop hypocrisy going on here. He's not quite a pancake. I think he's toasted on one side, but obviously you could see where his priorities lie. It is with the dinero. It is with the cash money. Conduct. Offshore oil, natural gas leases should be a maximum extent permitted under 2023 through 2028. Ooh. Natural gas sales maximum leasing through 2028. Interesting. Possibility to move forward with previously studied out unselected plan alternative. What the fuck is the previously studied but unselected plan alternative? That seems very oddly specific. And he just stops it there and goes into the next bullet point, and I kind of want to know more. What the fuck is the possibility to move forward with under a previously studied unselected plan alternative? What is the unselected plan alternative that has been studied? They say that it's been studied, but it's a plan alternative that they never used. Um, I want to know what the fuck that is, but I don't think I'm going to get any answers to that. Develop immediately finalize 5-year plan working with Congress to conform OCSLA to eliminating the 5-year plan's favor of rolling or quarterly lease sales. Review all resource management plans finalized for previous 4 years. Oh my God. Restore multi use of concept enshrined in FLPMA and eliminate management decisions that advise by 30 by 30 agenda. What? 30 by 30 agenda. I got questions. All these bullet points keep giving me more questions than they are answers. And I feel like this bro has like some kind of code that he has with his rich buddies and he's speaking it. I don't quite understand yet, but we'll see what's up. Set rents, royalty rates, and bonding requirements no higher than what is required for the Inflation Reduction Act. Okay. That is one sentence. Comply with Alaska National Interest Lands Conservation Act. Okay, why is that the only conservation act y'all are respecting? Y'all are so focused on preserving Canada, not Canada, Alaska. Y'all are so focused on like environmentally protecting Canada, but fuck the rest of the states. And I think there's a reason for that. Alaska is really close to two very western neighbors. It's close to Russia and it's close to Canada. And if Alaska looks bad, then both those nations are going to look at America and be like, "The fuck's wrong with you?" I have a feeling that is why, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. And the Tax Cuts Jobs Act of 2017. The Tax Cuts Jobs Act of 2017. Damn. That's almost 2 years from being a 10-year-old law. Interesting. To establish comprehensive leasing and development program from coastal plan and area of Alaska where that is set aside by Congress specifically for future oil and gas exploitation. Oh, there it is. You really don't give a fuck about Alaska. You just want their oil. Okay. I thought there was something in your water or something. Nope, no, you're still on that shit. You still on your shit. I see you. You want that Alaskan oil and you have a whole paragraph for it. Conclude programmatic review of coal leasing program to work with congressional delegations and governors of Wyoming, Montana to restart program immediately. Okay. Get the oil silos, get the coal going. Lord. Abandon withdrawals from lands from leasing in Thompson Divide and White River National Forest, Colorado, to 10-mile buffer in uh, Cultural Historic National Park in New Mexico, restoring compromise forged with the Arizona Wilderness Act, the boundary waters area of northern Minnesota if those withdrawals are not completed. Meanwhile, revisit associated leases and permits for energy and mineral production in those areas with consultation with state elected officials. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I could see him selling this as like, oh, we're gonna give this state business. Oh, we're gonna give this state business. Oh, and my home state of Colorado, we'll go give you all the businesses. Everything that we shut down, we're gonna redo back up. I see him making promises, bro. I see you. Require regional offices to complete right of way drilling permits. Right of way drilling permits. Bitch, I barely have right of way when I cross the street. We're going to give right-of-way drilling permits within the average time it takes for states in the region to complete them? You gonna have to clarify right of way with me because I'm gonna be on this one for like days, okay? I barely have right of way when I cross the street, okay, bitch? Just keep that in perspective. Rulemaking. Policy reversals require rulemaking. Oh, rescind the Biden rules that and reinstate Trump's rules regarding BLM waste prevention. The Endangered Species Act rules defining cultural habitat and cultural habitat exclusions. Damn, you don't even care about the animals? I thought you cared about them dogs and cats being eaten. No? No? But endangered species, fuck them? They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Oh no, they're eating the bald eagles, but we don't have any laws to protect that because we just did away with the Endangered Species Act. American bald eagles almost became Thanksgiving turkey. I just want y'all to think that. Instead of cooking a fucking turkey, you would have had to slaughter a fucking bald eagle. Can you imagine that on your table? That thing would be big as hell. It'd be hard as fuck to eat. Turkey's already hard enough to eat. Okay? I just want you to think about that. When you think about repealing the Endangered Species Act, just think. You really want to be cooking fucking bald eagle? That shit's huge and unmanageable. The migratory the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. Oh my god, what you got against the birds? I was just on this. Damn, bro. What do you got against the birds, man? The birds ain't done nothing to you. We made laws to protect them birds. Like, what the fuck you gonna do? Okay, somebody in his administration must have seen the movie The Birds because they just must think birds are menaces or something. Reinstate blah. Trump's plan to ongoing national petroleum reserve in Alaska. Boo, big deal. Yeah, we already know you want petroleum and nuclear waste. That's no surprise. Personnel changes. Oh, remember, personnel is policy. We, as personnel, our policy, not y'all. I'm just going to keep saying that every time they mention personnel because that's basically what it is. The new administration should be able to draw the enormous expertise of state agency personnel throughout the country who are capable and knowledgeable about land management and prove it daily. Wow, you was really blowing smoke up the state's ass. He's like, there are so many capable people out there, guys. We don't need federal people. We need state people. I'm like, okay, girl. We have so many capable people. Immediate actions. Bureau of Land Management headquarters. It belongs in the American West. Oh my god. The BLM headquarters belongs in the American West. This is the first piece of anti-East Coast rhetoric I've seen, and I'm very interested because I'm not anti-East Coast, but I do look at them sideways occasionally. It's a power thing. It's an empire state of mind. Uh, after all the overwhelming majority of 245 million surface acres managed by the agency lies in 11 western states and Alaska, and barely 5,000 surface acres lie elsewhere. Moreover, 97% of land management employees are located in the American West. Thus, the Trump administration's decision to relocate the headquarters from Washington to D.C. to the West is the epitome of good governance. Ooh. Ooh. See that burn right there. Oh my God. That is not only well informed, but also implemented efficiently, and with an eye toward that should have been okay. You can't have the word efficiently and then a comma and then efficiently and then a comma and expect me not to make fun of you. Just put a period. I'm so sick of this document and run-on sentences. For the love of God, fucking, you tell me, oh, y'all, you need to learn English because you live in America. Bitch, you learn English. What the fuck is this? Bitch, you learn English. Put a period there. I'm so sick of these run-on sentences. I'm on page 557, and I'm sick of these run-on sentences with this document. All right, we should continue. Bipartisan, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, state and tribal and local officials, diverse collection of stakeholders, whose public lands and western neighbors are accustomed to having top Bureau of Land Management decision makers in Grand Junction, Colorado, rather than up 4 time zones away. Chef's kiss. If you don't know where Grand Junction, Colorado is, it is the middle of fucking nowhere. It's not quite the middle of nowhere because the town there is lovely. The people there are absolutely fucking lovely. Um, but if you ever seen like those Wile E. Coyote cartoons and you see like them orange hills that are like flat on top, okay, that's where Grand Junction, Colorado is. Okay. They have a nice airport. They got a nice little town. They don't have a two-story mall. They have like a one-story mall that may have changed since I visited last. But Grand Junction, Colorado is an interesting place to have a headquarters because it is very isolated and very low key. A very quiet town. I mean, would it be quiet after this? I don't know. But interesting location. Interesting location to say the least. But that just kind of proves my point about Grand Junction, Colorado. It is such a lovely place that even politicians want their headquarters there. Okay, would it ruin the vibe? Yes. Would it ruin the people? No, because I know the people of Grand Junction, Colorado are lit as fuck and they're very fun to talk to. In 2019, nearly 600 Bureau of Land Mass headquarters employees uh, established headquarters named after their long-serving director, a Grand Junction, Colorado native, with a staff of 41 senior officials and assistants, and 76 positions were assigned to the Bureau of Land Management state offices and western communities such as buildings in Montana, Boise, Idaho, Reno, Nevada, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Wyoming to meet with critical needs. Okay, this isn't a bad idea to have if your whole department is land and you have a lot of it. It's a smart idea to have offices everywhere. Like, I think what's interesting that he mentioned the Grand Junction, Colorado numbers, like how many people he hired there or how many people were hired there in the first place, because those are low numbers. And there's a reason for those low numbers. It's to look appealing, but also Grand Junction, Colorado is a very small fucking place. You aren't gonna find a lot of people over there. There are smaller places in Colorado, don't get me wrong. But but that's why he get went into specifics of his home state rather than the other offices. Because if you mention the other offices, like I bet the one in uh Utah or Wyoming have way more people staffed because there are more people there. Okay, so that is kind of like a weird tactic on his part. The Trump administration recognized despite its attractions, not everyone employed in the Bureau of Land Management could move west. The administration applied hands-on approach with all employees briefing question to answer sessions and email communication, a website devoted to frequently asked questions, and human resources teams aided in employees wishing to remain in federal jobs in DC area all received new opportunities. I love how he worded that because like it seems like nothing bad happened, but he literally told thousands of people, "Hey, You moving west, or we're putting you in another job. Even though your expertise is Bureau of Land Management, we'll just throw your ass in another department. Which it sounds it is the most friendly way of saying you're laying off people I've ever witnessed. And I have to give it to this man for making it sound like a sweet deal, even though it probably upset some people. The Trump administration did just that in putting a lie assertions in some that BLM was trying to fire federal employees. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's gonna shake up your whole department if you're telling them to move to a whole ass other state. Lord. That was fun. La, la, la. BLM move west was generate savings of the BLM moving west will generate savings of 3.5 million, which following the fiscal year would increase to 10.3 million. Like I said, he's trying to make this sound like the sweetest deal, and he's saying that all those funds that he saved, oh, all that money you saved. The next two paragraphs, he's like, oh, we could use it for risk of wilderness, reducing risk of wilderness, increasing opportunities, conserving public lands. Even though literally in the pages before, he spoke of none of that until we started saving money. I see his tactic. He wants to trim the fat of other offices in DC, spread them out, divide and conquer, basically. He wants to spread the Department of Interior across the nation. And then, let me read this more carefully. Oh my God. Yeah, it is a divide and conquer because he wants like a director, two deputy directors, or 6 and 7 assistant directors. Damn. Biden administration failed to recognize the wisdom of the Bureau of Land Management's leadership, including its director and deputy directors. Oh my God. Damn. He's making this department sound petty. My God. Uh, law enforcement officers. Ooh, what's the Bureau of Land Management going to do with law enforcement? Holy shit. In 2002, uh, in the following the 9/11 attack, Inspector General, or for the Department of Interior, made a series of department-wide recommendations regarding law enforcement and then security. Uh, Gail Norton adopted those recommendations, which drew strong bipartisan support from Congress. Over the years, enforcement officers, that is the 212 law enforcement rangers and the 76 special agents that are exclusively law enforcement chain of command. This is not the Attorney General's recommendation in 2002, but every Attorney General who followed. Um, yeah, okay. It is also a strong recommendation to departments uh, top LEO move over to be to have been more urgent recommendation of law enforcement professionals across the association. Unfortunately, over time, land management's leadership stonewalled and haphazard system, which led to LEOs reported to non-LEO superiors, including uh, not only to state directors but direct field managers and expertise and people with expertise in other fields. Range management, petroleum, and engineering, for example, with only 24 hours of law enforcement study. Woo! Obviously, those managers lack comprehensive understanding of law enforcement issues, constitutional, legal, and tactical. Okay. You want more training for law enforcement, basically. Okay. I'm not surprised. The final days of the Trump administration, Secretary David L. Don't care, ordered that Deputy Director William Perry implemented. Blah 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 blah. Nevertheless, blah 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 blah. Mind you, this is someone who was asked to leave their government position who is writing this. Like, let me just take a break to the court order for removing William Perry Pendley from the Bureau of Land Management. A U.S. senator quoted on saying, "This ruling enshrines in law uh, what Montanans already knew. William Perry Penley has no business overseeing our public lands. Montanans and future generations will benefit from Governor Bullock's work protecting our public lands from Pendley's reckless agenda." Yeah. Okay. So that's just one of his coworkers spitting his truth. Wild horses and burros. Don't tell me this man wrote 4 fucking paragraphs on horses. He he did. He really wrote, like, he wrote a whole he wrote a whole ass page about horses. Oh my god. There are 95,000 wild horses and burros roaming nearly 32 million acres of the West. I'm sorry. What are you gonna do? Ride them to save gas money? Like what? 50 million annually to take care of the off-range corrals. 47 animals that the Bureau of Management has gathered from public lands at the cost of the American taxpayer. Oh no. Are we wait? Are we not saving the horses? Are we turning them into glue? Wait a second, what's going on? American Association of Veterinary Medication Association, two largest organizations and professional veterinarians around the world, issue a joint policy calling for the further reducing of overpopulation to public health and well-being of wild horses and burros in public lands. They are going to try to kill the horses. They legit are like, okay, where can we save money? Oh, well, we could kill all these wild horses and get a lot of glue and sell that shit. Save a horse, ride a cowboy? No. Save a horse, ride it, because that horse is going to turn into glue. Okay, enough of the one pages on killing horses and burros. Immediate actions on regarding Alaska. Damn. Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act. Oh my god. They really want Alaska. They see gold in Alaska, and they're willing to trample on any rules to get through it, including the Alaska Native claims. How many pages does he stay on Alaska? Oh my god. Yeah, he goes on to I'll spare you. I'll spare you the 2 pages he rants about Alaska because oh, never mind, 3 pages. Wildlife and waters. Oh my god, revoke, recognize, issue, reinstate. He is 30. Okay, the 30 by 30 plan. I mentioned this earlier. I want to hear what it is. The 30 by 30 plan requires federal government, which already owns 1/3 of the country, to remove vast amounts of private property from productive use and congressionally mandated uses of federal land. End result will be a total federal control of additional 440 million acres of land and oceans by the U.S. by 2030. Eh. Although a new president should vacate that order, the Department of Interior is under a conservative president must take immediate action on the 30 by 30 plan by vacating uh, sanctional order issued by the Biden Department of Interior, eliminated by Trump administration's requirement to approval. Oh, so they like the 30 by 30 plan. Oh, we like that shit you cooking. If we can expand, I see them. So by 2030, if we don't have Puerto Rico Jr., they would have failed the 2030 plan. I'm calling it Puerto Rico Jr. because I know there's some nation out there that's an island that's that's on the federal radar. I know they're behind a tree, licking their lips, putting their hands together like, more land. A national monument designations. There, blah 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 blah. Two national monuments in one state, Utah, were adjusted. Furthermore, the administration should vigorously defend downward adjustments and make it into a permanent a ruling of president authority to reduce the size of national monuments by the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay. National parks and national monuments. The property that they occupy will legally get smaller. That's all that says. Oregon and California land acts. This is going to be interesting. One national monument worthy of downward adjustment is in Oregon, whereas the designation and subsequent expansion of with its federal obligation to its residents to harvest timber is a Bureau of Land Management, California, and Grant Lands Acts of 1937, which is decided by the Congress of hard-vested benefit the people of Oregon, specifically those federal lands to be, quote, managed for permanent forest production. Its timber is sold, cut, and removed comfortably within a sustained yield. Okay, I'm a little bit aware of this because the trains that come through California and Oregon are the same trains. And I have seen lumber transported. Mount Hood wood. Mount Hood is a place where they harvest wood and they bring it to other states. So the district court concluded that at the beginning of 1990, the federal government enacted a trifecta of illegal barriers and the accomplishment of congressional mandate to beginning the response of listing northern spotted owl, continuing a decade later into the Cascade Siskiyou National Monument, concluding the 2017 expansion of the monument. In order to contained by federal blah, blah, blah. Permanent forest production to ensure timber is sold, cut, and removed. Okay, so they're doing nothing because Oregon's already doing it. They're just stating what it is to protect it, to protect that lumber industry that they have in Oregon and California. Thank you for telling me a whole bunch of nothing. Now I can't get that time back. And EPA reforms into tree killing product dooming a decade spanning Congress and short strict Trump administration adopted a common sense reform that must be restored immediately. Okay. Well, what's in that reform, though? Limits MPA documents as setting forth on page 1. It costs the document. The costs of the document itself. Oh my god. Before you save trees, you have to pay money for the papers and applications to save those trees. I ain't making this up. You gotta kill trees to save trees, baby. Print that paper. Oh, I'm sorry. Are your papers? Oh, I'm sorry. They're photocopied. Oh, I'm sorry. They're not the original papers. Okay, you have to go to this department and pay that much money, and then you come back and fill that out here. Okay. Okay. Good. What the fuck? Settlement transparency. New and settlement transparency should be reinstated. Endangered Species Act. Oh boy. Again? Again? Was the Endangered Species Act was intended on bringing endangered and threatened species back to the brink of extinction when appropriate, restore real habitat survival of the species. The act's success rate, however, is dismal. Ooh, I'm sorry. You acting like animals can just repopulate like that. I mean, have you tried? Like, have you tried like making babies? Because like it takes more than one try. I'm I'm just saying, and it takes more than one couple to make a village. I'm sorry. What? Hold up. The greatest deficiency, according to the renowned expert, is one renowned expert. You don't even give the name the renowned expert, and maybe I'll listen to him. Uh, is quote conflict of interest, specifically the work of the Fish and Wildlife Service product to the product of quote species cartels afflicted with groupthink, confirmation bias, and common desire to preserve the prestige, power, and appropriations of the agency that pays and employs them. I could kind of see that happening, but I don't think that's actually happening. But whatever. Lord. They think endangered species employees are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs and not doing anything, which I find fascinating. Delist grizzly bear and greater Yellowstone National ecosystems to defend the Supreme Court United States agency fact-based decision to do so. Whew! Delist the grizzly bear. Delist the gray wolf. Secede Western states from jurisdiction of greater sage goose or gross recognizing of ground expertise, blah, 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 economic activity. Direct the Fish and Wildlife Service to end its abuse of Section 10 of the ESA by reintroducing the so called, quote, experiment species populations into areas that no longer qualify as a habitat uh, to lie outside of historic ranges of those species, which brings with a full weight of ESA and its areas previously without federal government oversight. Oh, okay. Direct Fish and Wildlife Service to design and implement impartial conservation triage program by prioritizing limited resources that maximize conservation return relative to conservation goals. You just want to cut their budget. Okay, I get it. I get it, girl. You just want to cut their budget. Direct the Fish and Wildlife Service to make all data used in decisions available to the public with limited to with limited or no exceptions from public's right to know to prevent the agency's previous decision making. Abolish Biological Resources Division in the U.S. Genealogical Survey to obtain necessary specific research about species concern from universities via contemplative requests for proposals. You're just going to do away with Biological Resources Division. Okay. Direct the Fish and Wildlife Service to design and implement uh, endangered species program that ensures independent decision making and ending reliance on so-called species specialists. You don't want species specialists in charge. Again, a common theme with this entire book. You really don't want the experts in charge? You really don't want the experts in charge. Why? I'm sorry. If I need a repair in my house, I'm gonna call someone who does that. like an expert in that, a professional, someone I could pay. You don't want that. You just want anybody. Anybody could come fix your house and bust it up. I can't. I can't with that shit. Office of Surface Mining. Mining. Western water issues. The American West, from the Great Plains to Cascades Range, develop additional short-range capacity address, including by updating dam water control manuals for existing facilities during routine operations and engaging in real-time monitoring operations. Reduce bureaucratic ineffectiveness by consolidating federal water working groups. Consolidating federal water working groups, basically firing more employees. Implement actions identified in federal action plan for improving water availability, especially adopting improvements related to forest-informed reservoir operations and aerial snow observation systems. Clarify that the Water Infrastructure uh, Finance and Innovation Act is to ensure the consistent application with other federal infrastructure loan programs other than Federal Credit Reform Act, which is a foster opportunities to locally led investment in water infrastructure. Reinstate presidential memorandum to promoting reliable supply of delivery water to the West. Interesting. Oh, here's the meat. Here's the meat and potatoes. American Indians and U.S. trust responsibility. The Biden administration has breached federal trust and responsibilities to American Indians. This is unconsolable. Specifically, Biden's administration's war on domestically available fossil fuels and mineral resources have been devastating to wit. It's not even to witness, it's to wit, and like a semicolon. And so the ability of American Indian and tribal governments to develop and amount oil and gas resources that have been severely hampered and depriving them of revenue and profits entitled during the time of increased worldwide energy prices, and forcing American Indians, who are among the poorest Americans, to choose between food and fuel. Like this is their catch 20. This is one of their things that I feel like in the future will definitely matter. I feel like Republicans are selling this idea as a way out of poverty. And as soon as Native Americans get out of poverty, guess who's going to be the first motherfuckers to take it away? Yeah. Guess who's going to be the first motherfucker to take your financial freedom away? Because guess what? Natives have casinos. White people get so fucking jelly of that, even though casinos don't even make that much of a return and don't even help the community at large in general, depending on the area. So, like, I'm just saying, they're selling this to you like it's the hottest thing, and it could be disastrous. Indian nations with sufficient coal resources have some of the highest quality and cleanest burning coal in the world. But Democratic administrations have sought to destroy the market for their coal by eliminating coal fired electricity in the country and to prevent the transport of coal and sale immediately. Meanwhile, the administration that has had great public expense effectively boosted demand for electric vehicles. Don't tell me coal and electric vehicles are related, because that is a bit of a stretch. Okay. Which, because of those remote locations, the absence of increased electricity demands for charging electric vehicles nearby, the distances to be traveled are not a choice for Indian communities. I see points here. I see points being made. A significant percentage of minerals created by the United States in Indian lands has, under this administration, has discouraged development of critical mineral mining projects in Indian lands rather than assisting their advancement. Despite Indian nations having primary responsibility for their lands and environment and the responsibility safety of their communities, the Biden administration is reversing the effort to put Indian nations in charge of environmental regulation of their own lands. And what are you doing? What if a tribe specifically doesn't want to develop their land? Shouldn't they be free to not do it? Y'all both want control over those lands. America as a whole wants that. And I see you. I see you guys for what you are. One way or the other, you're going to be plundering what is left of Native American territory. And I don't like it. And no one should like it. And it should be noted. The new administration must take the following actions to fulfill the nation's trust and responsibilities to Native American and Indian nations. Bullet points. End the war on fossil fuels and domestically available minerals to facilitate the development owned by Indians and Indian nations, and federal mandates and subsidies for electric vehicles, restore the right to tribal governments and enforce environmental regulation of their lands, secure the nation's border, and protect sovereignty and safety of tribal lands. That all sounds good on paper, but those are bullet points with one sentence each. That's not specific, like, at all. Oh no. By failure to secure its border, the Biden administration has robbed Indian nations on near Mexican border and safe, secure communities and permitting them to be swamped by a tide of illegal drugs and fentanyl. There's a reason why I can't take this statement seriously. Because when you was building that fucking wall across the border, you fucking demolitioned towns to get that. You demolitioned several native landmarks to get that wall made. Don't be acting like the border fucking matters to you now. Because don't you be acting like these natives matter to you, because it didn't matter to you when you were building your fucking wall and you were going through these sacred lands. Lands that don't really belong to Americans and lands that don't really belong to Mexicans even. They belong to the natives there. It's beyond it's disappointing and beyond unfathomable, but it's happening. And it's been happening. And so don't be turning around acting like you guys are the saviors, okay? Because I hate that shit. Oh, we made it to the end of the chapter. Oh my god. Thank God. Overhaul school. I don't even care. I'm just happy to be done with this chapter. Finally, the new administration to seek congressional recognition by the land buyback program for tribal nations, which provided a 1.6 billion trust land consolidation fund to purchase to make land more available for the market. Oh. New funds should come to the Great American Outdoors Act. Okay. Author's note. Special mentions to Kylene Sigma, Dan Kish, Katie Tubb, uh, and a whole bunch of other names. All right. This was a rather interesting chapter. It took me to places that I didn't expect, but at the same time, it is very much the same playbook. And when we return, we'll be at page 578 with the Department of Justice. Ooh. I like how this series over time, like when I first started this series, it was like it was it was a joke. But now that these policies are very real and everything about this document could be implemented, it is very important to understand who, what, where, and why. And that is why we're continuing this series. And I'm sorry that it won't be as glossy and pretty as other videos in the series, but it's alive. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Um, Frankly, this man is about profit. This chapter is about turnover. And he is such a sweet gentleman with his words that you almost can't tell what his intentions are until you actually read them, like with your eyes. And then you realize, oh, this is literally what the whole book was building up to, was plundering what's left of the native lands for oil, minerals, and coal. So, if they really gave a fuck about native communities, they'd give them electricity. What about that kind of development of land? No? Infrastructure? No? Okay. These are like, I just want you all to know, like, before they start selling this as like the biggest thing to help our nation, just think of the other things they could have done besides this with that money, with all that money they saved. You know what I mean? So I just want y'all to leave y'all with that. Um, Thank you so much for keeping me company and enjoying me unedited. You're probably asleep by now, but that's okay. At least you absorbed it through osmosis. All right. 1, 2, 3, not it.